Where would you be, or what would you be doing if you didn't tell yourself you're shy, you're introverted, you're not ready, you prefer being behind the scenes and all the things? Where would you be? I want you to write that down. I want you to think about it. And I want you to write it down in a notebook. And if you want to comment and share, that would be great because I'd love to hear from you. But truly, where would you be if you didn't tell yourself these stories? These stories that you tell yourself, they often feel so real and true in the moment because it is a disguise. It is a disguise from the fact that you might have a true fear of showing up. And I have been there because I've told myself these stories so often to the point that I start believing them. And trust me, one thing I know is that when you start saying something so often, you start believing it. And so the stories you're telling yourself are not unique to you. There are other women like you who feel the same way. They feel like, boy, if I put myself out there, I might get criticized. If I put myself out there, I might fail. What if I don't get enough views? Those are just some things or just stories I've heard women share with me personally. And like I said, I have been there in the past. I've told myself the stories like, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, I don't like being on camera, I prefer being behind the scenes. And those same stories almost kept me from building the brand I have today. Those same stories almost kept me from showing up as how I truly can and should. And like I said, the common stories I've heard: I'm introverted, I'm private, I don't like being on camera, I don't like how my voice sound. I've heard that one so often. I don't like how I look on camera. All the things, I've heard them all. Anything you can think about, I've heard them. And I've gotten so much more comfortable on camera. There are some little things that I believe I still struggle with, but I still push through them and work through it. Like, for instance, before I recorded this video, I did one before and I was like, yeah, I don't like how I sound. I feel like it sounds so forced. It's not natural. So this is like my second recording, for full transparency. And those are just some of the things that comes with showing up, right? You will know you need to do something, you start doing it, and you're like, nah, I don't like how it sound. I don't like how I look. Oh, my eyebrows messy, all kind of things. My background isn't perfect, and you just shut down everything and you don't do anything. But then at some point, you have to push through all the nuances, all the things you think should be perfect and just right. You have to push through that. And one of the things I used to, outside of pushing through the nuances and the beliefs and the things you tell yourself, one of the things I used to believe was that if I could just hold my head down and work, that my creativity would make room for me. And I mean, my gifts are making room for me. But if I was just hiding, or if I constantly stayed hidden and no one knew what I could do or what I am good at, then of course I wouldn't be able to connect with the people I'm called to serve, or serve an audience that needs me. And so without showing up, it's the same thing. Your audience won't find you. Without placing a bet on yourself and pushing through the uncomfort, then the people who you are called to serve won't find you. Without sharing your voice, without sharing your thoughts, without bringing your value to the table, as they like to say, or sharing your brilliance, your audience won't even fully connect with you. And here's what happened, or here's a shift I would say that happened for me. When I realized that entrepreneurship was more than just about my skills and a service, and more so had to do with that the fact I had to connect with people, I realized, okay, yeah, I have to start showing up. I have to do more than just leaning in my creativity and being all brilliant. I have to start putting myself out there. And trust me, sometimes it got really uncomfortable. Sometimes it's still uncomfortable. But showing up is about connecting with people, meeting your people, connecting the people, and serving the people you're called to serve. I didn't realize this at the time, but one of the things I later learned was about being on camera, or showing up on camera, was that it wasn't about being perfect. It was about service. It wasn't about, oh, the perfect look, perfect makeup, the perfect background. It wasn't about any of that. People are just literally want to hear the message you have to share. And once you're sharing it away where you're being your true self, your authentic self, as best as you can, then of course it will resonate and connect with the people who needs to hear it. And so for me, what I realize is that entrepreneurship is about service. It's a ministry. And so because it is a ministry and because it is about service, then I have to show up. That's just the truth. I can't stay hidden and I cannot allow my fears or the self limiting beliefs I've come to make true or factual hold me back. And so, a group of people I'm called to serve are women like you, women entrepreneurs who are hiding behind the scenes and want to step from behind the scenes and want to show up with clarity and confidence and courage, but also want to be seen and build a visible brand. And not just seen because, oh, you want everybody to know you, but be seen in a way that the people for you will find you, connect with you, work with you, and you can impact lives in a positive way. I want to remind you of something that I've learned, right? And it is that one of the things is that your beliefs influence your decision. So whatever you believe, that is the decision you're going to make. So if you believe that, boy, you're not ready, you will never feel ready. If you believe that you're shy and introverted and you're not going to come across well on camera, you will never make that decision to turn on that camera and make a bet on yourself. And then because you make that decision, it influences your habits, it influences how you show up, which means oftentimes you're not showing up. And of course, your habits really influence or shape your results, which means you don't do anything. And I think the biggest thing or disservice you can do for yourself is not showing up when you know you should and not placing a bet on yourself when you should. And so, an old belief that I had, and I'm going to be very honest here, is that I thought, well, here's what. Who am I to put myself out there? I'm not popular. Who am I to just be on camera, on YouTube, talking to millions of people. Yeah, because I put myself out there. I don't know who is watching. I used to have that belief, who am I? Who am I to do all these things? But the minute I shifted from that belief of who am I and say, hey, why not me? Why not share my story? Why not share my journey? And realizing that my journey, my story is part of my calling and I'm called to serve, which means I need to show up, it shifted a lot of things for me. The minute I realized that, listen, man, my journey, my story is part of my calling, and I have to show up in order to serve. It shifted everything for me. I'm not gonna say it happened overnight because it certainly didn't, but it definitely opened doors for me and shifted everything or a lot of things for me. So, just embracing this new belief of, sharing is part of my calling, share my journey, share my story, and serving my audience of women entrepreneurs. I went from hiding, literally, to, how hiding behind my work and hiding behind others, if I'm going to be honest, to becoming Jamaica's first Canva ambassador. And that's a big deal. I never set out to be an ambassador for Canva. I just used the tool, loved it, have been just working with clients and, doing a lot of things. And just even how I started using Canva has just been a story in of itself, because when I first started using Canva, I was unemployed at the time. I was on Fiverr, earning $5 per gig. And I had clients just asking me like, hey, I want you to design for me, but I want you to utilize Canva. And that was how I started. I was unemployed. I was broke, very broke, dead broke. But that story really, well, that journey or that part of my journey really shaped a lot of how I use Canva, and eventually like wanting to talk more about Canva, but not in the way of just a tool, but how I use the tool to help women entrepreneurs. And like I said, at the time I can, if I think about it, at that time I was using the tool and doing so much work for women entrepreneurs, and I wasn't sharing it, right? I was literally hiding behind my work. So to be hiding behind my work, to know sharing and becoming Jamaica's first Canva ambassador, that's like a big deal because I embraced a new belief. And then the other thing, of course, it opened new doors of opportunities for me, right? Opportunities I created for myself, and those opportunities that have been open because I simply put myself out there. So all of this shifted when I decided to stop letting fear and doubt and insecurities to write my story, because trust me, They have been writing and they wrote my story for a very long time, very, very long time. So if I would say anything to you, I would say to really sit down and think about the stories you have been telling yourself so much that you started to believe. Yes, some things can be true, but one of the things I also realized is that you have the power to rewrite the narrative, and no one can write a better story than you about yourself and how you want to show up in the world. So, my question to you is, what is that story you are telling yourself right now that might be holding you back? I want you to write it down. I want you to spend some time with it and doing this activity. And then I want you to ask yourself, is this a fact or is it a fear? Right? So all the stories I mentioned before, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, I don't have all the things, I'm not prepared, I'm not this, I'm not that. Is it a fact or is it a fear? Or could it be a fact that you've allowed to use as an excuse because you're fearful of showing up and putting yourself out there? And I want you to then think about how can you reframe that story to serve instead of allowing it to stop you. All right? So that's the activity for you. I want you to write it down. Not for me, but for you. Yeah, I want you to do that activity. So if this video resonated with you, I want you to subscribe to this channel because I have so much more coming in as part of this 7-part series where I talk about stop hiding, where I'm sharing my story, the strategies, and even action steps that can help you to move from a place of hidden to more visible and building a brand where you're not hiding, but you're seen and seen by the people who you're called to serve. So follow this 7-part series. And then I want you to sign up for my 3-part webinar series. And in that 3-part series, you have the opportunity to ask me questions and I'll answer them as openly as transparently as possible. And of course, this will also be an opportunity for you to learn my exact approach and strategies, as well as the actions I took to move from a place of hidden to be more visible and to get in opportunities, and even just a powerful opportunity to impact the lives of women entrepreneurs and people globally.